Good morning. It's Wednesday, and it's great to have you along. I have to tell you, a few months ago, I don't know, 8-10 months ago, something like that, we, within the Sandhill Media complex, moved studios. We were in a bit of a smaller studio, still very functional, but we moved to a larger studio that has more room. And that's about the time we started Studio 4 Covers. And you know what else we did? We installed multiple television screen, LED TVs. And in fact, mounted on the wall, we have TVs on 3 of the 4 walls. And the one wall that doesn't has 2 sizable windows looking to the outside. But I'm facing a screen. We have 3 on the side, and there's one behind me that was recently installed. But the reason why I'm telling you all of this is that we have 3 or 4 different news channels up all the time. And it's fascinating to watch the headlines, the lower third messages that come across, and the different ways that CNN, ABC or NBC or Fox News puts the information forward. And right now, with all of the tariff talk that's happening, people do not look to me. They're like, you know what? I need some economic advice. Let's go to Neal. I'm not trying to portray myself as an economics expert, nor would I dare present myself as a tariff expert. There are plenty of those, though, on social media. Plenty of tariff experts on social media that I reference all the time. And you know, it would be great if people said, hey, can you give me some suggestions for a tariff expert? And I just went online and, Bob from Wenatchee, who hates Trump. He's a great tariff expert, and just sort of rattle off these people. I will say this because I feel inclined to tell you this: everything's going to be okay. It's all going to be. We're in a transition period. Yes, the markets are down. They're actually up a little bit right now. We're all in the green. The Dow, the Nasdaq, the S&P, they're all up very slightly right now, and it's volatile. Yes, it's true. But can anybody else see what I'm seeing? Not today or tomorrow or maybe even next week, but in the months ahead. Baked into our relationship, and I asked Senator Crapo about this last hour, but it seems that for the past few decades, baked into our trade relationships was a starting point. And that starting point is, well, whatever we come up with, America's got to take it in the shorts. We have to be the ones to have higher tariffs on our goods than we inflict on other countries. And I asked Senator Crapo, why is that? Why it would seem to me that common sense, and also in the spirit of the Golden Rule, why can we not apply the Golden Rule to our trade policy in America? It's not that hard. Well, you want to tariff us at 20%? We'll tariff you at 20%. Fair's fair. Handshakes, we're still friends. Let's go get a beer. Not that I drink beer, but you know what I'm saying. That would seem like a reciprocal tariff would not harm a relationship. Well, I don't know how people think anymore, and maybe it's not. They're substituting feeling for thinking now. But in the long term, let's go back to the moment during the inauguration when Trump said the golden age of America, that we will return and create the golden age of America. Look, there's conspiracy theories. We could speculate all day long. I see the eerie YouTube, whatever, all of that. I'm telling you, it's my belief, mine only. I only speak for myself. But I know I'm not alone in saying that I genuinely believe Donald Trump just loves this country. He loves America, and he stands up for America. And he has watched what's happened on so many fronts, whether it's trade or our geopolitical strategy, our participation in NATO, whatever it is. He just wants America to thrive. And he knows there's probably short-term pain for us to get to that more balanced relationship that we have with other countries. But I will make I will make this prediction, and then I will put a reminder in my phone to check the prediction in, say, 6 months. May happen sooner than that. I believe that what Donald Trump is doing right now, despite the short-term pain we're experiencing, is going to lead to one of the strongest and lasting superpower economies that the world has ever seen. Now, when I say that, the left shudders. America should not be a superpower. There should not be an imbalance of power. Hegemony is Satanism. Like I think that's kind of how they react to a lot of it. And I'm like, no. We don't. We spread goodness around the world, not in everything. I'm not naive, but when we encourage other nations to implement democracy and freedom, and we are a light to the world, we're the shining city on a hill. I think the light has dimmed a bit, but it can return to brilliance, and I think Donald Trump is going to get there. Now, having said that, Donald Trump is very, very authentic. Okay, we'll just say that. Here's a little clip. It's a little crass, but it's genuine.
It's the biggest transaction ever made. This is bigger than any deal. You guys, some of you work for companies. Your companies are peanuts. I don't care how big they are. This is the largest transaction in the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate.
Okay, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. And the thing is, he's right. He's right. He also announced this.
We're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here.
Okay, you have that, and then this on tariffs as well.
But the shrill voices that you're hearing this week about tariffs are the same scoundrels and frauds who never thought twice about when the United States lost 90,000 factories and plants. Think of that, 90,000. How do you do 90? If you had a map, a big map the size of that wall, and you had a pin for each factory, you wouldn't have enough room. You think of it, 90,000 factories since NAFTA.
Okay. Really, and I mean, there's more audio I could play for you. You get the idea. Donald Trump doesn't care, and that has been the best approach for him. Now, we are seeing some Republicans that are getting a little bit skittish over this. But I would ask you this question. Don't we teach our children short-term pain for long-term gain? I think that's probably already trademarked, but it rhymes and sounds good. We go through short-term pain so that we can have a long-term gain. It's why you go to school and you get a diploma. It's why you get a degree. It's why you work hard. It's why you exercise. I mean, I can go. It's why you save money. It's why you go through these. You go. We want our children and hopefully ourselves to say, I'll go through some short-term pain so that I can have a long-term gain. And it's almost as though that idea has been completely tossed out the window by the left, by the media, by some in the Republican Party. Yeah, it hurts for a minute. But if we rebalance trade, it sets our economy up to be a steaming, that doesn't even, I can't even think of the imagery of what it turns into. I am it's already working. I just saw a graphic on Fox that talked about all the countries that are already engaged in negotiations, wanting to negotiate. They know that these tariffs are not going to be good for their country. The same tariffs they've been applying to us, by the way, they're not going to be good for their country, so they want to negotiate so that trade can happen and their economies can be okay. It's great. It's already working. You have a couple of holdouts, which you kind of expect. China's a holdout. Canada is trying to put forward retaliatory tariffs, and that's fine. They have the right to do that. That's okay. But if I am going to bet on a negotiating horse, that horse's name is Donald Trump. And in the end, I think it's going to be shown that he'll win out. Also, and maybe I mentioned this yesterday, there's weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth when the stock market falls because of what Donald Trump is doing. There will be no reciprocal gratitude, celebration, credit given when, not if, but when the stock market rebounds over the next few months. And I promise you, it will happen. At least that's my strong belief, that the stock market always comes back. And we're going to, like I said, I'll end this segment the way I started. We're going to be okay. All right, it's 8:20 on News Talk 1079. We have some great audio to share with you. Also, no new big developments in the tragic shooting of the teenage autistic young man in Pocatello from over the weekend. There is a candlelight vigil planned for this upcoming weekend, and the story has gone national. You have ABC News covering it, the New York Post, other outlets have as well. And we can continue to talk about that if you'd like, but from our vantage point, no new big developments there. We'll also open up the phone lines and take your calls. It's all coming up on News Talk 1079. All right, 8:25 on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason, and it's Wednesday. If you'd like to reach us on the program, 208-542-1079. Julie, I saw a story on Fox about George Stephanopoulos, and I know this will come as a shock, but I'm not a big fan of George Stephanopoulos. Brace yourself.
Okay. Good thing you gave that disclaimer, because I'm not sure everyone knew.
I didn't want people to drive off the road, as I, shared that, so I needed to prep you for it. But reportedly, he said that his post-debate interview with Joe Biden was, quote, heartbreaking up close. Mm-hmm. Chris Whipple has a new book out. It's called Uncharted: How Trump Beat Biden, Harris, and the Odds in the Wildest Campaign in History. Great title, by the way. Which was released on Tuesday, recounted behind-the-scenes conflicts between members of the Democrat Party and the Biden administration over whether Biden needed to step out of the race after his disastrous debate with then-candidate Trump on June 27th. To staunch the bleeding, the Democrats beginning to publicly call for replacing Biden on the ticket, Whipple wrote about how the White House accepted an interview with This Week, the host, Stephanopoulos, on July 5th to reassure the public about the president's candidacy. Whipple described Biden as hoarse and semi-coherent throughout the interview and said Stephanopoulos was equally disappointed. Whipple wrote, Stephanopoulos questioned the president gently, like a grandson. Afterward, when I asked the ABC anchor by email for his impressions, he replied, heartbreaking up close. So I thought about this, and I don't know precisely what George Stephanopoulos' coverage of Biden was after that point in time. But it feels to me like not disclosing that as a journalist. I think it's okay to give your impressions. You can say he appeared to be compromised without being overtly opinionated about it. Like, that's what we want to hear from journalists, where they're not trying to sway you one way or the other, but they're giving you an objective observation. And there was a video not long after some man on the street asked Stephanopoulos about the interview with Biden, and his answer was, I don't think he can serve another 4 years. And then ABC News had to put out a statement tempering that, saying, well, he was talking about his own opinion and not representing ABC News in that, because a journalistic organization probably doesn't want to weigh in on that, the fitness of a candidate, whatever. Although I don't know if that went both ways. But anyway,
right.
It was just frustrating because it was obvious to everyone. I feel like them calling this a cover-up is just an inaccurate term. It was gaslighting. It was just lying about something we all saw in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to point out two things about this. First off, George Stephanopoulos is not new on the scene. There has to be, I would say, at least a dozen times that he's interacted with Joe Biden that was publicly recorded. Probably more, but I'm just throwing a number out there. Somewhere around a dozen times that you could reflect on. And George Stephanopoulos could have said, when I interviewed him in April of 2022 versus the debate, it was a diminished man in front of me. That's it. Yeah. That's all you have to say. He has past interactions with Joe Biden that he could have used as a comparison to what he was seeing. Now, the second part of this, when asked in the email how he felt, he said, heartbreaking up close. I didn't catch this the first time you and I talked about this off air, but that kind of like a little light bulb went off when you said it the second time, which was, does he infer that everybody else who wasn't up close couldn't see it? Like, does he infer that he's actually covering it up? But I know nobody else could tell, but up close, it's pretty heartbreaking.
I think that's very possible. Maybe he was just acknowledging that he sat 5 feet from him and had a perspective the rest of us didn't, that it was even worse than we thought.
Possibly.
Maybe. I don't
know.
If I'm going to give George Stephanopoulos the benefit of the doubt, which he probably doesn't deserve.
Yeah. It just kind of just stood out because I'm thinking, you don't think it was heartbreaking for people who've loved this man, who watched it on TV? Because I bet it was.
Yeah.
I bet it was. And there was even a portion of you and I that felt just kind of sad.
So, when the debate happened, you know what my reaction was? My reaction was, that was a terrible performance by Biden, but it was on par with what I had been observing for years. Mm-hmm. And when there were moments, sometimes during a split screen, when Trump was talking and he was debating and Joe Biden's mouth was half open, his eyes were vacant, and he was slowly scanning the audience or the room, whatever. He was just, you remember that look. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching that. I don't know, were we here together? Were we covering that debate that night?
I believe we did. I believe we watched it together.
So I remember seeing that going, he's our president. Mm-hmm. He's standing there with his mouth agape, and he doesn't even know what Donald Trump's saying. It's not registering, and you can tell it's not registering, but that's what we had become accustomed to.
Remember, Donald Trump even said that. I don't think he knows what he's talking about, but let me answer this.
Yes. And so, I watch it, and I feel like if you want to know why the Democrat Party is in such disarray, or at least one of the big reasons, the fact that they looked the other way for almost 4 years. They couldn't. The last, 4 months, they decided, they panicked. They realized they can't get that guy across the finish line, so they had to pull the nuclear lever to try something else. Mm-hmm. That didn't work. But it was such a betrayal. It was such an extended complex of lies that they had to perpetrate on the American people to keep Joe Biden propped up like Weekend at Bernie's, to keep him going as the president of the United States. And then out of the other side of their mouth, they lied to the American people and said, everything's fine. This is the best Joe Biden ever. And you had all the cabinet issuing statements that I promise you, if we dove into that, ChatGPT wrote most of those. And you probably had White House advisors telling cabinet members, here's the statement that's going to be attributed to you. And chat, they had AI write it, because I read those and I'm like, this is in the voice of Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh, totally remember that.
It clearly was. It was all in unison, and it was a flat out blatant lie, and everybody could see it. And yet here you have the Democrats not able to figure out now, and it's been, how long ago was November? 5 months ago? They're not able to figure out now which way is up or down. And they're still in complete chaos and I think they're going to be for a while. America has no interest in revisiting allowing those people to have power ever again.
No, they've got a lot of rebranding to do, including, I bet they wish there was a transfer portal. I bet they wish there was some place that they could go to get some talent.
Yeah.
It is going to be a long time for them. Donald Trump made fun of Jasmine Crockett in his speech that you've pulled all those clips from. And basically what he said is, if this is the best they've got, keep going.
Yeah.
And that mirrors what you and I have said. They do not have a bench. They lied to you. The mainstream media lied to you. And even if they won't, even if the American public that maybe potentially voted for Kamala won't admit it, they know it. They know.
They do know it. They do know it. And they know that they sacrificed an awful lot on the altar of winning in 2020.
Yeah.
And trying to win in 2024. This is a perfect opportunity to play Senator John Kennedy. Another great one-liner. Listen.
What do you think of the new leadership, Jasmine, AOC, and Bernie?
I consider Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to be the leader of the Democratic Party. She's entitled to her opinion. I'm entitled to mine. As I've said about her before, I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle. And, our plan for dealing
you
with
didn't
her,
plan that out. We got to hurry.
Our plan for dealing with her is called Operation Let Her Speak.
Yes, and he's spot on. Let the whack jobs just do what they're going to do, because as long as they are, America sticks with Trump and America sticks with the American people.
Yeah. Did you see the hot water that AOC got into over the last couple of days? Somebody filmed her flying first class to one of the oligarchy rallies.
Oh, okay.
So here she is going to a rally about the horrible rich people.
Yes, I did see that headline. Acting like an oligarch.
And she's flying first class.
Isn't it rich?
Yeah.
Remember when she went to the Met Gala?
Yeah.
Remember all that? Like, just, these people are so clueless as to what instant clowns and what hypocrisy they project.
Yeah. But Kennedy's right. Keep running her. It's fine.
Yeah.
Operation Run Her works for the Republicans, so go ahead.
You know what I would love? Republicans probably won't do this, but it would be funny if they just referred to her as the Democrat leader. Democrat leader Ocasio-Cortez. Just keep putting it out there.
Oh, can you imagine how that would grate Schumer?
Oh, yeah.
It would be a perfect troll.
Yes, it would. But I think we ought to do it. I like Kennedy's idea. He considers her the leader of the Democrat Party, which she kind of is.
Yeah. She's
Not
the
in a
one that gets
formal
the
way,
headlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's one of the leading voices. But you know what? I do think when you look at the fracture inside the Democrat Party, and let's face it, it was the Schumers and the Pelosi's and sort of that established mainstream Democrat cabal that kept Joe Biden propped up for so long. Because they wanted the power. They needed the power. And I think the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's and to some degree the Bernie Sanderses out there, they're saying, look how bad you guys screwed this up. We're gonna be the face of the Democrat Party. And I'm like, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll make the posters. Let us help.
Yes.
We got some PCOs that can blow up balloons and bake cookies for you.
Yes. Yeah, had to go there. I love it. We'll be back. It's 8:37 on News Talk 107.9.
We'll be back after a quick break. Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
It's 8:43 on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason and you. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to hear from you this morning. 208-542-1079. That's the Stones Automotive Group call and text line. And this is the fabulous Caroline Levitt.
There's been some public sparring between Elon Musk and the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, on some of these tariffs. Musk actually referred to Navarro today as being, quote, dumber than a sack of bricks. Are you at all, or is the administration, the president, all concerned that this is maybe impacting the public's understanding of these tariffs? It might be messing with the message on it?
No, look, these are obviously two individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history. And I think it also speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government in this White House who have very diverse opinions on very diverse issues, but the president takes all opinions in mind and then he makes the best decision based on the best interests of the American public. Tiana.
Okay, great answer.
Yeah, I thought it was a great answer. I love that she went ahead and wasn't even scared to use the phrase "boys will be boys." That probably would have gotten her in trouble 4 years ago. We live in a different culture now, and I think it's important that we recognize that it's different now.
Yeah.
Stop hiding in the shadows as conservatives. It is okay to use a phrase like "boys will be boys" when you're referencing that they're going to get in a little bit of a schoolyard fight, because that's what boys do.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be scared of the gendered language.
Yeah. No, I liked that. I also just liked leaning into the controversy and just saying, yeah, it's happening. We have arguments. We disagree. We hash things out. But I think the unspoken message to the American people is that they're really working through this. And also, does it also not undermine this narrative that Trump only puts yes men around him that will do exactly acting in lockstep and in unison? You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I absolutely think you're right about that. And that's what she references when she says the most transparent administration ever, is that they're not hiding these little tussles behind the scenes. They're going, look, Trump's not controlling what either one of these men say.
Yeah.
And they're having their public little tussle. Boys will be boys. They'll solve it, and we're going to carry forward.
Oh, we have this really simplified view of it's a faulty logic to say when two people disagree, one's right and one's wrong. That's not, when you have something as complex as trade, they're both right on some things and they're probably both wrong on some things too. And then the passion and the emotion gets involved. And Trump wants these to be hashed out so that he has multiple options when he finally decides how he's going to move forward. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't.
I don't have a problem either. And I think there are a lot of varying ideas about tariffs. We interviewed Senator Crapo earlier today. He's a little nervous, especially about the potential pharmaceutical tariff.
Yeah.
If you were to listen to Ben Shapiro right now, he is absolutely against everything that Trump is doing as far as tariffs go. He has a different financial strategy than Trump.
Yeah.
You have other pundits who are 100% behind. Kevin O'Leary, 100% behind what Trump is doing. Many others.
Art Laffer from the Reagan years. He's in favor of it.
So it is a complicated issue, multi-layered.
Yeah.
And it would be erroneous to believe that everything Trump is going to do with this tariff war is going to work out smashingly.
True, yes.
It's not going to. But if you have a 70-30 or an 80-20 out of this, that's a pretty great win for America.
Yeah, we'll take it. We just can't keep taking it in the shorts. And I think that that's Trump's point in all of this is we're done. We're done with that approach. One of the squishy Republicans on trade and tariffs is Don Bacon. He's a Republican out of Nebraska, and he's the guy leading the bipartisan bill that will block Trump from instituting tariffs and try to retake that power for Congress. He told reporters earlier yesterday that he didn't like, quote, the thought of waging a trade war with the entire world. In the Senate, a bipartisan group led by Rand Paul and Ron Wyden is also introducing a resolution to repeal Trump's global tariffs. Chuck Grassley and Maria Cantwell have already introduced a bipartisan bill that would require the president to notify Congress about any new tariffs within 48 hours of imposition and require Congress to approve new tariffs within 60 days or allow them to expire. Trump chewed out the Republicans over the proposed bill, and he said, I just saw it today, a couple of your congressmen, Trump said before launching into an impression of a lawmaker, Sir, I think we should get involved in the negotiation of the tariffs. Oh, that's what I need. I need some guy telling me how to negotiate. Trump said that should Congress take over tariff negotiations, China would be the happiest people in the world. They wouldn't be paying 104%, Trump said of China. I'd say they'd be paying no percent, would be paying them 104%. Trump said that even the talk around Capitol Hill about limiting his tariff powers hurts your negotiation, adding, and then the fake news wants to build it up and it has no chance anyway. We have to remain united as I defend workers from unfair trade. I'll say this. I think even though, and I haven't seen the actual polling, but I feel like the American people are similar to this as they are with immigration. They're giving Trump some time to negotiate. They know this is a transition period. This isn't going to be the permanent policy of the United States. We're just trying to balance things out.
I would also add to what Trump is saying about Congress is that if you gave them the complete power and he stepped out of it, 3 years from now, 2028, we still wouldn't have anything done.
That is absolutely true.
Do we want it to fix and fix now? Then let Trump do it.
Yeah. And you know what? Trump has the bully pulpit. I think he's using it well. And I think he has every right to push back against Congress. And they're exerting the rights that they have. Mm-hmm. And this is one branch of government against the other. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay, too.
I actually don't fault Congress for pushing on this. I disagree with them, but it's their prerogative. It's 8:50 on News Talk 1079. We'll come back after this. All right, 8:55 on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason, both of us, the enthusiastic users of the 4-Step Lawn Program from Town and Country Gardens. Time to get the humates down. March, April, that's the perfect time window to get that step 1 down, and it is super easy. You just go to Town and Country Gardens, south of Idaho Falls, and say, I'm looking for the 4-Step Lawn Program. And it's sort of in the next section after you go through the entrance, and it's all on pallets there. It's all very easy to understand. Just go in with a rough idea of how much square footage you have in terms of lawn, and that will inform you how much you need to buy.
I was just sitting here thinking, you were talking about where it's located in the store. I'm not sure I've been in that store in that area where there hasn't kind of been somebody hanging out to help you.
That's true, yes.
Oftentimes the expert is right there. So don't think that you're going to need to go and wait forever to get, if you have questions. And if there isn't someone there, if there happens to be some time when there's not someone there, there's plenty of people throughout the store. It's a very well staffed lawn center. So make sure that you find somebody if you have questions so that you make sure that you've done it right. It's also a great time to plant certain kinds of trees and shrubs and your berries. So ask those questions as well. Mm-hmm. And you said that Rex mentioned it's time to get your seeds. Go ahead and get them now early, even if you're not planting them for a few weeks.
Yes. And don't forget, coming up on April, what day is it?
Was that the 26th?
26th, 6 to 10 p.m., an event called Illuminate the Night. And the it's with the firefly petunia. And you might ask, well, what's the firefly petunia? It's a glow-in-the-dark petunia. Now, it's not like Vegas neon bright, but if you turn the lights off and it's dark and you let your eyes adjust, indeed, you will see this petunia glowing in the dark. Some genetic botanist guy had created it, took some of the bioluminescent genes from some algae and whatever. Anyway, combined it, and they are going to do the big reveal. You will be able to buy for yourself, I think, up to 3 of the petunia plants.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's an event that night. It's a party. So there's going to be food. There's going to be beverages available. And just go. You can actually put your name in the drawing for a VIP ticket if you sign up for the newsletter. So go to mygardengeek.com. All of the information about the Petunia event is there. And also that's where you sign up for the newsletter. So mygardengeek.com.
Town and Country Gardens, south of Idaho Falls, across from the malt plant on the Yellowstone Highway.
Well done.
Did I do it correctly?
Oh, I'm sure it's wrong.
I'm sure. All right. And we'll come back. Hour 2 coming up on News Talk 1079. Julie, for some reason, I have no idea of the topic, although I have a couple of ideas, but I think we should do a flash poll.
I'm in.
Okay. All right. We'll have something for you in the next hour. Welcome back. It's 9:07 on News Talk 1079. Try not to rush the phones here, all right? We only have 6 lines. But I'd like for you all to call in and tell me what you thought of the new Snow White movie.
We're not even going to get a call.
You don't know that, Julie. We might have we might have secretly woke Disney fans that wanted to see whatever this monstrosity was. Like it's bad. Like it is one of the worst. This has to be a pivot point for Disney, I would think.
You would think.
They lost so much money on this film.
Yeah, look, I don't think we can trust anything that they're doing because they've had hints of this. This is just the biggest, but they've had hints of this up till this point, and they kept doing it.
Yeah, true, they did, but don't you feel the leadership now is? I mean, the son of the producer called out Rachel Zegler and said, "My dad had to fly across the country to bring you back in line because you are saying garbage. You're denigrating the original Snow White story, and those are the people that would love to come see a good remake of it. But you've subtracted everything good about the original Snow White story and replaced." He didn't say this. This is my addendum. But basically, she made it far, far worse. I think Disney wanted to trick people into going to see it, but she gave the spoiler away. In a sense, right?
Yeah.
It would be like a main actor going out and giving away the surprise in the film. And in this case, Disney wanted the surprise to be she doesn't fall in love. She doesn't get the prince's kiss or whatever. And they wanted it to be a surprise that they subtracted everything that made the first Snow White compelling from this version of Snow White.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that had to be removed. Yet we have plenty of feminists who rally around OnlyFans. Plenty of people who...
Yes, I know.
But a curse that will be broken by a peck on the lips is too far.
You're right.
Too much.
You're right. You can be a teacher, and it's feminist empowerment to show up, and on the weekends, you let everybody see everything. Mm-hmm. But you clutch your pearls when a prince kisses a princess?
Yeah.
How does that work? All right, let's go to the phones. 208-542-1079. Caller, welcome to the show. How are you? You are on. Go ahead.
Well, I think my 12-year-old grandson did Snow White the best. he said if he was on a plane, he'd still walk out.
That's good.
He's got a future. You keep inspiring this young man. He's got a future.
It was pretty funny.
That's great. Thank you for the call.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I don't think I would ever buy a ticket because I wouldn't want to support that kind of garbage. But if you could watch it for free as a political social experiment to see how badly they botched it, would you watch it?
I actually have an answer for this because Wicked is now available for free through Peacock, and I have that.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't watched it. So I think that it carries over for me, that I'm just not going to give in even when it's for free.
So I think, and I don't know how this works, but if you watch it on Peacock, the fact that you've streamed it would mean revenue.
Probably.
For them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch it in a way where they don't get any revenue.
They get nothing.
Like I will sneak into the movie and watch it and not buy it. I mean, that's dishonest. I'm not going to sneak into the movie and watch it. But I'm saying I don't want a single dime going to that. I don't want to. I don't want to add to their bottom line. But I wouldn't be going there for entertainment purposes. I'd be going there to be informed and to sort of watch the downfall and destruction of what was once a great American institution.
I fear you'd walk out and go, I can't get that 2.5 hours back. I fear that that's how you'd feel at the end of it.
Yeah. I might. You know what I might do? And I don't want anybody to take this out of context because I really don't watch animated films. But when there is a heavy political angle like this, it does pique my interest. If I find... Wait, who am I fooling? If I found the DVD at the DI in 3 years, I might buy the DVD knowing they're not getting the revenue.
Yeah.
I dropped 50 cents on it and just for social commentary. Yeah. I might do that. But no way would I give them the revenue.
Okay, catch me up. Can you still buy a DVD? Like if I went on Amazon, could I get a DVD of the movie in 3 months or whatever?
Of that movie? I don't know. But I think they still do DVDs.
Okay.
Like you...
When's the last time you bought a DVD?
Oh, years.
Yeah.
It's been years since I had. Now, my kids may have...
A kid's movie or something.
Like, I have kids that are kind of old school. Like, my daughter, Anna, I was teaching a Sunday school lesson recently, and I needed some CDs for part of an object lesson. I won't go into it, but I'm like, I don't have any CD. Like, I don't have a CD collection.
Mm-hmm.
I ditched that a long time ago. But my daughter Anna has a stack of CDs. And it's like Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift and, you know, things that a 16-year-old girl would like. And so I did take that. So there is kind of this demand for old school media.
Okay.
And if you go to like a big box store like Walmart, they do have those bins where you can buy DVDs for like $4, movies that were big 15 or 20 years ago, you know, like a Steven Seagal movie or something. Like if you go, you know, you can still get DVDs.
Isn't there 32 installments of like Rocky and what's that racing movie where the guy died with Vin Diesel?
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Aren't there like 32 versions of that?
Probably so. Yeah, there's probably a Fast and Furious 97 or something, you know. Yeah. That would be, like, I think sometimes I'm curious how many people in our audience still have a VHS player.
I don't. Do you?
I think my son does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he does. And cassette players? Do you have a cassette player?
No.
I might have one. Yes, I do have one. I do have one because I bought a secondhand stereo for my garage to just listen to the radio in the garage. It's like a stack of There might even be a record player on the top of it. I don't even remember, but I did it mostly for the radio. It also has an auxiliary input, so I got it for that reason, and it does have a dual-sided tape
cassette.
Yeah, so I go out there and I will record I'll hit record right when a song starts that I want to tape and make a mixtape. Did you ever make mixtapes?
I did. I actually did what you're talking about. I did.
We all did, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a Gen Xer, you'd listen to the radio and there's this brand new song out by Bryan Adams or Roxette or Heart.
Bon Jovi or
whatever. And you'd listen and you'd be like, okay, I'm ready to hit record just in case the song plays. And then
you're furious at the DJ that he does the talk up to when the song starts and he's talking over the intro.
I have always had that in me. Would those radio people just shut up?
Said with massive irony.
All right, let's go to the phones. 208-542-1079. Hi, caller. How are you today?
Good. Is that me?
It's you. Yeah.
We
put you. We put you right on. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. Well, I was just gonna say it's funny you guys were having that conversation because over the weekend I stayed at an Airbnb that had a modern record player. You could buy it on Amazon, and it got my wife and I talking about, well, can you still buy records full blown, big black 33 RPM, 45 RPM records, and you can of songs that have just came out. And so we were just kind of blown away that there's still that, like you guys were talking about, a kind of a demand for physical media to have your songs and stuff on. But I was just going back to the whole Snow White thing. I agree with you guys. It's man, can you even get that time back in your life? Because it's well, if I'm going to diss on something or if I'm going to dislike it, I want to be informed and not just hop on the bandwagon of well, everyone's saying this, so it's got to be terrible. But at the same time, I'm well, I don't want to spend 2 hours of my life really figuring that out. I think I can get enough from the clips on Instagram and screenshots and all that stuff. But yeah, it doesn't look like I don't think I'll ever watch it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not a bad decision.
I think that's probably how you can dabble in it enough is there's plenty of, if you go to X or whatever and you searched a movie, you're going to get enough outtakes from the movie that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
All right.
Definitely not worth the time.
Thank you for the call. Do you remember? I just had a memory come back that I haven't thought about in a very long time. I remember when you'd buy, growing up, it was cassettes. Even before CDs came out and were widely available. I remember that excitement that you would have when you'd tear the cellophane off the cassette. You'd crack it open, and then all the lyrics were printed on the label.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd
accordion label?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you'd hit fast forward to get to the song you wanted. It would take minutes to get to the song that you wanted. And some boom boxes actually had silence detection in it. So you'd hit fast forward and then it would stop. And you knew you had advanced one song. And then you could do but it would take forever to try to get to the exact 2 or 3 songs on an album that you really wanted to hear.
Yeah, yeah. Kids nowadays just don't even understand the rewinding of a VHS tape. You'd be so mad at your sibling or whomever that didn't rewind the VHS tape, and now you had to rewind it to get to the beginning of the show.
I have a sibling I haven't talked to in 14 years, 40 years. I have to go back further than never mind.
14.
I don't. We're that old.
We are old.
All right, 208-542-1079. Hi, caller. Welcome.
Hey, I saw the Snow White movie, and I didn't think it was bad.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't see hardly anything political in it. The only difference that I really noticed was that the prince was not a prince. He was a rogue, and he did wake her with a kiss. So I'm not sure what all the hubbub is about.
Wait, what's a rogue?
The guy Entangled. He lives in the woods, and he's a little bit, Han Solo. He's a rogue.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay.
So, but not a prince. He's not connected to society in a regular way, I guess. He's kind of he's fighting in the name of the king because the queen has taken over and made everything junk,
Okay.
Gotcha. But you didn't feel like it was overtly political.
No, I didn't see anything that really super related to today's politics. I felt like they did make her a little bit stronger of a character. They did character development all around, and I thought it was a really cute film that maybe took it didn't go way off into the woods from the original, but it did develop the themes and the plots and the characters more.
Okay.
So with that being said, is it just Rachel Zegler who made this into something it wasn't?
That's my guess. I mean, I did see one of her comments months ago, and I just have ignored her ever since. And I went seeing it, forgetting that she was even in it. And I was like, yeah, this is cute. I like it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So maybe her comments were more controversial than the movie itself.
I think so. Yeah, that's my guess.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the call.
The only thing that really confuses me about that is Rachel's comments were all about how that was an unsolicited kiss. He did not get permission. And so that was why it was so important to change the movie.
Oh.
Because she's asleep. She's in a spell. And so she doesn't give consent.
Oh, okay.
To a kiss. And so Rachel was saying that. But if this now misfit dude, this rogue, comes in and kisses her without consent, why is that any different? It's just a different kind of man.
Well, maybe rogues can get away with it, but if you're from the upper class, then it's an expression of the patriarchy and the hierarchy and the privilege and See, I can speak the lingo.
You can.
Let's go back to the phones. Hi, caller. How are you?
Is that me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I have been following this Snow White thing ever since its inception. And I got to tell you, it was not just what Rachel Zegler did. It was her comments about, so she made a post on social media saying that, if you disagree her, you can unfollow her, which normally would be, good for her because, she's kind of closing the door on those kind of haters or whatever. But the way that she said it, it was super entitled and it was super ignorant. And it's basically, that's kind of what brought down the movie to start. But there's a whole bunch of other things. Like, for example, the dwarves. They were going to hire dwarves, but instead they went with a CGI alternative. And what happened with that is so they were going to hire these dwarves to play as dwarves, or, the midgets or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what the PC term is nowadays.
Little people, I think, is what they say.
Little people.
Yeah.
Yes, little people. Anyway, so they were going to hire these people, these actors, to play those roles, but then the actors, they were canceled because they wanted to go a different direction, so they went with the CGI version. Well, the actors were like, well, what other roles are we supposed to play? We are little people, and it's what else are we supposed to do? And so Disney went with that direction. And long story short, there was just a myriad of things that was, just plaguing this movie. And then the fact that you have Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
She's the evil witch, and she's wishing to be better than Lord Farquaad.
Yeah.
that's what they compared Rachel Zegler to, with Lord Farquaad, and you can find memes out there where it compares the two, and nothing against the previous caller, but if she really liked the movie, she's kind of in the minority because it got hammered in the Rotten Tomatoes and every other industry. So if you look it up, there's a ton of stuff. And Rachel Zegler, I doubt that we'll ever see her on a big screen again, honestly, because she had 3 other movies that she came out in during the time that she was doing this Snow White. They all bombed.
Oh, wow.
And this was kind of the final nail in the coffin.
So she ruined her own brand. She's the Colin Kaepernick of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they had a $300 million budget for this movie, and that was just a movie, and Disney's not coming out with all the numbers. because they had to do a ton of reshoots because they cut a bunch of content from the movie with Rachel Zegler because they wanted to keep her as much out of the movie as they possibly could from her rants on social media.
Yeah.
And then she's pro-Palestine and Gal Gadot is Israeli. She actually even served in the Israeli army.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, I could go on and on and on, and I don't want to take up any more time, but you guys can do your research, and it's a good popcorn.
Okay.
Not to watch the actual movie, but to do the research.
Just the whole drama. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the call.
You know, it's interesting. It's not the first movie to have failed just simply on the concept that the actors themselves didn't get along.
Yeah.
And that spilled over, and you could sense it in the movie, and you could see it in the promotional material and everything.
Right.
And so that was just one aspect of this, because there has been an ongoing fight between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler. And so there's that. I don't know. Somebody mentioned that the way that they got around the guy kissing the girl is they added a new song, which people are pretty divided on that when there's new music added to old films. But they added a new song, and then in that song, that's how she's granting permission that somebody can come take the spell from her.
Oh, I see. So she's inviting then.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Caller, go ahead. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you. Is it me or is it somebody else?
It's you. It's you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I went in with my wife trying to be unbiased. She's not heard any of the negative stuff about the show until pretty much today. It wasn't a bad show. It obviously didn't have the magic of the original. But I think part of that is that they're trying to take something that was applicable to the times. The original one was made during the Depression, and basically saying, okay, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're having a hard time. You'll get through this, and don't let it affect your character. And I did not see that this Snow White had nearly the character that the original did. The other thing, they were talking about the dwarves being animated CGI. It wasn't bad, but I think that if you're in live action, use live characters. Apparently, probably the most famous little man actor, Peter Dinklage, was a portion of that. He complained about being typecast.
Okay.
So that was part of the reason that they put in the animated dwarves, but they actually weren't even going to have dwarves, from what I understand. They were just going to have a group of people.
Oh, okay.
And so they had to go back to the drawing board multiple times. That's part of the reason that the costs of the film were so exorbitant. Is because they had to keep going back and back and back.
So it sounds like the whole process was kind of clunky and complicated. So we've got to get to a break. Thank you for the call. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and continue after this on News Talk 107.9. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Water,
Yeah, I think something else that happened in this Disney movie, as I did some searching during the phone calls, was that it's never a really good thing in general for a movie to take forever to get from production to screen. When it takes 5 years or 6 years, and it looks like this took about 4 years, that typically doesn't bode well for a movie. Like a typical turnaround time is closer to 2 years. So the longer it takes, and you've got that buildup and that time for people to see errors in the movie or whatever, it typically doesn't benefit the movie. Now, one that didn't suffer any problems with the big delays was the Top Gun movie got delayed multiple times, but that thing was a smashing success. So that, what I'm saying is not always a rule of thumb, but you can watch, and when the longer it takes, it's not always a great sign that the movie is doing okay. You would hope that it could get there a little bit quicker. Yeah, Glade, I don't know. I don't know what makes a movie good these days. I just referenced the second Top Gun, and it was massive audience score. Everyone loved it, that kind of a thing. I think that people don't like to be preached to. I think that's got to be in there somewhere. And when you get just preached to or things added that you're like, that didn't even need to be in there, but they added it for political reasons, I think that automatically harms the movie. What else is going on, you guys? We did get a text, Neal, somebody asking for an update on the Pocatello shooting. I don't know if you want to do that or not. Completely up to you.
Is there anything new to report? Is there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we can mention it, though. I think people are...
Spud Kings won last night.
Good for them.
Yeah. Remember that cruise ship video I sent you? It's finally hit East Idaho News, where the 40-foot waves are hitting the cruise ship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, I probably sent that to you 5-6 days ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
$9:34 on News Talk 1079 208-542-1079 if you'd like to join us. We did have a person texting in, listener, asking about any updates on the shooting in Pocatello. Everything that we've scanned this morning is that he's still in critical condition and fighting for his life. Of course, his leg was amputated and he's been through multiple surgeries. We also know that there is a candlelight vigil scheduled for Saturday evening outside Portneuf Medical Center for him. But I don't think we've heard anything new from the police department, from the Joint Task Force investigating. Haven't heard anything from the mayor. So right now, there's not really anything new substantially since yesterday that we've heard.
It did hit national news. So ABC carried a video package on it last night in their nightly news. It was in the news reads this morning. New York Post has a pretty vibrant crime arm of their publication. It did hit there. So that means it will probably filter to other national news media at that point. So yeah, Pocatello is on the map for this.
And it's really, I thought about this a lot yesterday, actually, because I've seen the video now probably a dozen times. And the fact that it went national, David Muir of ABC News had it highlighted last night on the news. And I keep wanting to have the broadest perspective on this that I can. Not, obviously this is an outcome I don't think anybody wanted. I don't think police were showing up that day saying, let's shoot somebody. And I believe that, when you look at it and you think, okay, what did they know? Let's try as best as possible to get into the mind frame that those officers were in. The 911 call thought they had a drunk person, had a weapon, but they didn't know he was 17 that we know of, because the 911 call, the caller didn't know. We just found that out after the fact. Didn't know that they were autistic. And in fact, there were some kind of physical limitations with this young man. The caller thought that it was someone who was drunk, which would be a very natural response in watching this. And so the cops show up. They think there's someone with a knife, a very volatile person. Now, having said that, I want to be very careful because you might think I'm now siding with police officers, and I'm not. I think what they did was way too much, because as they pulled up and as they were getting out of the car, the guy was laying, this kid, 17-year-old, he was just lying down on the lawn. There was no reason in that moment for them to run up, guns drawn, and to start yelling. If anything, the approach is assess the situation. And if nobody is under any kind of immediate threat, I'm not sure you need to draw your guns. Have them ready, maybe have your hand on it. But one officer could have walked up and said, hey, what's going on here? What's happening? And de-escalation could have happened. The tasers probably should have been ready. The beanbag gun should have been ready. Like all of those things. And I think it was just this sort of overreaction that they had. But I don't want to create an excuse in my mind for those officers, but I hope that we can look at it broadly and maybe it lowers the temperature on this just a little bit. Terrible, terrible outcome that never should have happened. And we'll see what the outcome of the investigation reveals. My hunch, though, is you're going to have these independent officers and investigators come in and look at this and say, you need dramatic policy changes in the Pocatello Police Department because this is not an outcome that should have happened. There was no imminent threat whatsoever the moment those cops arrived.
I would guess that that's going to be the outcome, too. I hope that there's some reflection on the training that the officers received. I have tried to not be critical of what the officers did in this situation simply because we're operating without knowledge of what training they have received.
Yeah.
And do they typically roll up onto a situation where there's a drunk person and you get 4 guns drawn on one person? I don't know. I will be critical of something that's post incident that has had plenty of time to be reflected on, which is I do not think the news conference was a good look. I think it should have been a united front. I think there should have been some representation from the city of Pocatello. That was not there. You put the chief out there all by himself.
Yeah.
Just him solo in a room. I think that appeared cold to people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there was ways they could have done community outreach. This family is Hispanic. I don't know what origin of, what country or what, maybe they're raised here. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they are Hispanic. Did you do any outreach to the Hispanic community? That would have been a great time to talk about that in the press conference. There was lots of ways to show kindness and love to the community in that press conference that I think they failed to hit those notes.
Yeah.
And you had plenty of time to think about that. That wasn't an emergency situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I agree with you. Usually, like when something like this happens and they hold a press conference in a very high profile event, there's at least 4 or 5 people there. They don't necessarily all speak, but usually you have the mayor there. You have the police and the law enforcement there. You have maybe a city council member would have been a good thing to have there. Maybe, just have... You have to be very careful what you say because there's pending litigation. There's a pending investigation. So I understand wanting to be very cautious about the words that you use in a setting like that. But I agree with you. I think the optics could have been better. Just better.
And I'm not assigning that they meant for it to be cold.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just looking at it, observing, going, I don't know if that was the best look.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's the best look. There was a lot of ways to reach out, and there was things that aren't part of the investigation that they could have referenced, like maybe they've contacted therapy sources to provide for the family and for the person who made the 911 call. Yeah. That would have been. There's no fireworks there. When you talk about that, you're just talking about ways that you're trying to heal the community after a very difficult situation.
Well, yeah, and kind of put those efforts forward that we need to give this family the support that they need. All right, we're going to take a break. It's 9:42. We'll be back on News Talk 107.9. All right. You could sort of distance yourself from the actual investigation.
Absolutely.
Almost be agnostic about that.
Yeah.
And say, look, our community is struggling right now. This family's struggling right now. And we need to come together and help them and pray for them and provide for their immediate needs, whether it's hotel rooms for visiting families, like you mentioned, or whatever the case. Like there are things that are just everybody could get on board with.
I just feel like that was a missed opportunity, and you're not under a time crunch. In fact, you probably didn't do it quick enough.
Yeah,
The news
true.
conference was a little too delayed, in my opinion.
Because it happened Saturday afternoon, and it was Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, almost evening by the time. It was almost 48 hours by the time they did the news conference. Yeah, that felt look, it's a weekend. Monday morning probably would have been an okay time to do it. But I don't know why I think of this. Remember when the University of Idaho murders happened?
Mm-hmm.
And the messaging that came from the Moscow police was, everybody's safe. It's fine. We don't think there's a threat out there. Oh, yeah? Did you catch the person? Well, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of try to extend some grace in those situations. This is not something that anybody's experienced at, especially in small towns like Pocatello or Idaho Falls or Moscow, whatever. So part of me is like, okay, you and I can think through this because we don't have this firestorm of criticism that's unfolding on social media, now national media. But I do think they probably should have said, okay, my brain is overwhelmed right now. Can you give me some advice on how we should probably handle this to at least bring some calm to the situation? And, I think they could have done more.
I think they could have found cities who've experienced this before.
Yeah.
And duplicated what they've done.
Yeah.
This wasn't a new phenomenon here.
No.
And I can't even tell you the amount of news conferences I've watched for my crime podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen one with an empty room like that. Not one. That is the first time I have ever seen that.
So there was actually a different angle. There were people in the room.
Why didn't they?
I don't know, and I don't know who those people were, but the shot they had a whole bunch of empty chairs and the police chief standing alone, and I thought that's not good. It just feels very clinical or empty or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a different angle where, and I don't know if it was the Idaho State Journal, like a still shot.
This is interesting. Michael is saying they sent an email at 4:01 p.m. That gave them a 30-minute notice about the press conference.
Oh, wow. So
this is a pretty big region. 30 minutes is nothing.
Yeah, no,
There's no travel time included in there. There's nothing.
Did they just not want to give a whole bunch of lead time because they knew that would give protesters a time to organize for media to I mean, I'm not saying that's right, but I'm wondering if that was by design, that they didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll give them this grace. There's never going to be a 100% win here.
Yeah.
There's a kid in critical condition. There is never going to be a 100% win here.
Mm-hmm.
But when already the community is so riled up.
They're already there.
Yeah.
In terms of the outrage.
You just should have reached out more.
Yeah.
You just should have.
One thing I thought, because we have talked about how, people are demanding the names of the officers, and there were 4 there. We don't know if all 4 of them took shots. We don't know who did what and when. So that requires the investigation.
Yes.
So that's why I understand, because you know what, there may have been an officer that said, "I'm not shooting. This is not a moment to shoot." But yet, if they're named as one of the 4 officers before we have that information and that investigation, they're going to get slandered on social media. They're going to get probably death threats. They're going to have all sorts of things. So I can understand why they're holding off on naming the officers until we get more info about what happened.
I think that would have been a great thing to say, though.
Yes. Yeah.
If that's the reason in the press conference, you could have said, I know that there is an interest in knowing who the officers were and if they've been put on paid leave and things like that. Here's the reason we're not reviewing that or we're not releasing that yet. Yeah. There was 4 officers. We need to determine who shot and who didn't. And there's too much investigation behind each officer. And until we get to that place, we are not going to release names. I actually think that would have helped the public.
That would have allayed I think that message alone would have made the public go, okay, I get that. I get that. And it wouldn't look so much like they're protecting bad bad cops or,
Right.
whatever the narrative is out there. Just say we want to preserve the investigation. We want to preserve due process. And we want to make sure that we understand the action of each one of these officers before we name them and put them out publicly.
I think that would have worked well to say that. I really do. If I was going to make a prediction here, I'm going to tell you their biggest thing in this investigation to overcome is the fact that there was a barrier between them and that
yes.
young man.
Yeah.
That is not something that you can't not access. You knew it was there.
Yeah.
They didn't know he was a 17-year-old boy. He looks like a man.
Yeah.
They didn't know if he was drunk, if he was high, if he was autistic, if he was having a mental episode. They didn't know.
Yeah.
You knew there was a fence.
Yeah, that was very well. And I don't. It's just so. Ugh.
Yeah, there's no win.
There is no win.
No.
Here's a question. Here's a hypothetical. If I was in the same situation but not a cop, and I'm walking by and I'm seeing this little family altercation or whatever, and that individual stands up and starts coming at me and he's got a knife in his hand, but there's a fence between us, and I'm carrying. If I pulled out my gun and shot that person, would I be protected? Would the law protect me? Would our self-defense laws protect me in that instance? I don't know that they would, especially if I show up and start yelling at that person, sort of instigating the action.
Yeah, I don't know.
9:50 on News Talk 1079. The program is brought to you by Grand Peaks Prime Meats. Grand and prime are perfect words. Do you know what I did last night, Julie?
Tell me.
For dinner. Went to the freezer, looking for some protein. My inner primordial caveman was coming out. Me need protein. And found a package of the dogs, like the really good, delicious dogs. And we not dehydrated that. No, we defrosted that.
What happens to a dog if you dehydrate it? I don't even know.
I don't know, but jerky. I don't know. Anyway, we defrosted that, and it was kind of cold and blustery outside. I didn't want to be outside and grilling that, so I put them in the air fryer.
Okay, did it work?
Oh, yeah. It got the crispy, the dark. It cooked it on the outside. I do like the grill because you get a little more flavor and the smoke and stuff. And so it wasn't quite that, but texture-wise, same thing. It got that outer cooked, browned, crisp edge on it. Fantastic.
Awesome. You can get the grilling package at gpprimemeats.com. It's right there. You click a tab that says packages, and then that's one of them. That will set you up if that's what you're planning on doing for possibly your Easter dinner. Or if on that Sunday you're going to do ham, they've got a special going on right now. So if that special if you can't find it on the website, give them a call. They are fantastic people. Amy and Bob are just great. They have a great staff there. So gpprimemeats.com. They've got all your protein needs.
I saw a social media video of a French dip sandwich, up close, and I'm like, that doesn't hold a candle to Grand Peaks French dip, but it made me hungry for French dip.
You wanted it.
And they've got that, too. It's just ready to heat and eat. Quick break, 9:52. We'll be back. We'll wrap it up after this on News Talk 1079. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, then we'll come back and do Town and Country. Okay, can I ask you a question? Why do tax credits expire more often than taxes expire?
Well, there's a phrase called getting screwed.
Taking it in the shorts is what I like. That's my phrase of the day. We're talking about Trump's tax credits expiring. I see a headline from Idaho Capital Sun, Idaho child tax credit set to expire.
Yeah.
Why do these lawmakers want to get a political bonus by passing a tax credit with an expiration date that's at least far enough away that people aren't jaded when it gets passed? But basically what it is it's it's a tax increase that they don't have to take the fall for because they can say, well, the tax credit expired.
Yeah. Well, and how often do we have the reverse of getting rid of a tax? It's hardly ever. What state just passed it? Was it Arkansas? With what's her name? Former press secretary, governor.
Sanders. Sarah Sanders. Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Arkansas or not, but a state their legislature just passed no income tax, or maybe it was no sales tax. That's what it is. No sales tax in the state.
On anything or on just food?
No, I think it was everything. I can't remember which state it was. I'll look it up. We don't get those kind of bonuses. Hardly ever.
Look at how excruciating it's been to try and get our legislature to cut the grocery tax when most other states don't tax groceries.
Yeah. Oh, we divided a party over that.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Dang tax.
Yeah.
That's when I said yesterday, can we just be normal? That's one of the things we weren't normal about.
Yeah. Okay, here's a headline. This would be a good flash poll. Blood test can detect 90% of Alzheimer's cases. Would you take that blood test? If you knew you were going to get Alzheimer's maybe like 10 years in advance, would you want to take it?
Probably, because there's lots of things you can do.
To stave it off, maybe.
Uh-huh.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll ask a similar question. If I had an envelope, and inside that envelope, written on a piece of paper, was the day you were going to die, would you open that?
Absolutely.
You would?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It would change my retirement plans.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If you're only going to live to be 62, and in your mind you're thinking you can make it to your mid-80s, that's 20 years of lifestyle that you have to adjust for.
Yeah, right. Interesting. So it comes down to money then for you.
Yeah, your lifestyle changes if you don't work as long. You don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's 9:57 on News Talk 1079. It's Neil Larson along with Julie Mason. And the program's brought to you by Town and Country Gardens, just south of Idaho Falls along the Yellowstone Highway, across from the malt plant. Julie, they've got it all. They got the 4-step lawn program. They've got seeds that you can go and get. Rex says, go pick them up soon, because as soon as the soils are ready, the weather's ready, and we're really close to that, there is a run on the seeds, and sometimes it's tough to keep things in stock. So you want to go and pick those out while you're grabbing your 4-step lawn program.
Remember when we were there together the last time and he showed us those big bins of mulch? Like everything you need for your yard is at Town and Country. You might need trees. You might need shrubs. You might need certain kind of plants like strawberry or raspberry plants, or maybe you need some mulch or some ground cover. All of that is there, plus your 4-step lawn program.
Okay, it's easy to get there, just south of Idaho Falls, Yellowstone Highway, across from the big malt / beer / Budweiser. Is it still Budweiser?
Those big towers.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, does Budweiser own? I don't think they do anymore.
Is it still Anheuser-Busch, though?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not looking at. I don't know. I'm always looking at Town and Country
Gardens. I'm sure there's a farmer that can answer this question for us.
You know where it is. Go see them today. Tell them Neal and Julie sent you, and they would love to help you out. All right, Julie and I will stick around for a few minutes for a post show on Facebook Live, and all you have to do is text the word live to 208-542-1079. Julie and I, we will be back tomorrow, bright and early, right here on News Talk 1079.